Scholars of Barcelona.
Scholars of the Global Round, when we assembled here for the opening 2 days ago, you did not have the chance to meet Alicia. She was at the debate schools. Can you put your hands together for Alicia Reza? Alicia, we had staff introductions while you were gone hard at work. Would you like to introduce yourself to the scholars?
Hello, scholars. As Daniel said, my name is Alicia. I come from Indonesia. I say that a lot because it rhymes.
Oh, Alicia, you weren't here this morning. Try saying Kenya.
Kenya.
Now try Turkey.
Turkey?
And now, try Sweden.
Sweden.
It's unpredictable, but carry on.
Scholars, yes, my name is Alicia. And when I was doing my staff introduction for the junior division, Daniel made me reveal my superpower. My superpower is falling. Is anybody else's superpower falling? Like, do you just fall sometimes? This is because at last year's Hanoi Global Round, was anybody at the Hanoi Global Round? Yes, so at last year's Hanoi Global Round, we were all going out to get lunch, and I was very excited. I wanted to get food, and so I was running down the stairs. So I made it from the 4th floor or so. I made it to the 3rd floor, I made it to the 2nd floor, but I did not make it to the 1st floor because I tripped, and I fell, and I had to go home in a wheelchair.
This is a really sad way to start the showcase. She was okay, eventually.
I made it to Athens, so it was all right, yes.
How about another superpower? Positive superpower. Getting back up again. Except you didn't quite. We got you to the clinic. All right, let's move on.
Jogo had to lift me up, so.
Joga. All right, scholars, we are gathered now for the debate showcase.
Yeah, so scholars, yesterday at the different debate schools, you were debating in your teams against other teams that you may not have known before. And today, we call up some of the strongest speakers from the community who come from different schools and different countries. And we ask them to form new teams on stage to showcase their strong debating skills.
Now, these teams represent the great diversity of this global round. There will be 2 teams of 4 on stage. Each team of 4 will bring together 4 scholars from 4 different countries. They will be judged by additional speakers from additional countries that have also been nominated for their strong performances. These additional panelists will take this front row of seats directly in front of the stage, and they will be the ones that determine the winner of the debate.
All right, so scholars, without further ado, we will begin to announce your speakers for the affirmative team.
And scholars, as we announce these speakers, take note that with nearly 1,000 scholars in the senior division, there is no way that every strong speaker in this audience could fit upon this stage or even upon this stage combined with the panel of seats right before it. If you are not called, it is not because you are not a strong debater. It is not because we don't want to hear your thoughts and not because we don't believe you have thoughts to share. Once the debate itself is over, while the panel deliberates in a secret chamber above water, we will open the floor for your contributions to the conversation, and we truly look forward to that discussion that will follow. The leaders of the discussion now begin.
Scholars, your first speaker for the affirmative team comes from a country known as Canada, from Lord Byng Secondary School. Please give a warm welcome to Charles Jha. The affirmative team should join us on stage on the table without alpacas.
Our second affirmative speaker joins us from the Netherlands, from the international school Hilversum. It is Hugo Kaptein.
Your third affirmative speaker joins us from India. From the Pathways School, Noida, please welcome Prachi Sharma.
And our fourth and final affirmative speaker joins us from the host country of the fourth of probably 4 global rounds this season. From South Africa, from Grace Trinity School for Girls, Cabo Majavu.
All right, scholars, as they make their way to the stage, please give it up one more time for your affirmative team. And now for your negative team. Your first speaker joins us from Hong Kong. From King George V School, it is Christy Yip.
Our second speaker joins us from Texas. From Ridge Point High School, Colby Sanders.
Our next negative team speaker joins us from Israel. From Rashish Junior High, please welcome Leah Barcella.
And our final negative speaker joins us from Kenya. From Oswald Academy, Mombasa, it is Kamran Sheikh.
All right, scholars, as they make their way to the stage, give it up one more time for your negative team. And we now move on to announce your panel of judges who should join us at the very front row in these VIP seats. Our first panelist today is Shreya Shah.
Followed by Sharia Chandravanshi.
And also by Krishna Vipul Desai.
And from Korea, Sun Woo Yu.
Who is also joined by Isaac Oster.
And by a panelist named Lottie Drews.
Your next panelist is Maria Evridiki Kanalopoulou.
Followed by Srinjana Sriram.
And also by Unal Yigit Ozuku.
And Hajin Kim.
Your next panelist is Aristides Sideropoulos.
Followed by Xiao Fu Chi.
Up next is Maria Bogoeva.
And Elena Ziambiolska.
Followed by Amin Huta.
And Nicole Faye Wijaya.
As well as Maria George Barata.
And our second to last panelist is Dev Kumar Patani.
And rounding up your special VIP panel for today is Katerina Stoor. All right, scholars, give it up one more time for your VIP panelists. Scholars, we have an affirmative team a negative team, and a panel of judges. What do we need next? We need a motion. And today's debate showcase motion is that the world needs more entangling alliances. Scholars, you will have 15 minutes to prepare. Without further ado, scholars, please give it up for your first affirmative speaker.
Sorry. When the stock market crashes, we go through that together. When natural disasters hit, we carry each other up. When humanity are put on test, we must and will stand together, stand united, because by nature, men are all connected. As your first speaker on side affirmative, I'll be doing you a few things. First of all, our motto. Second of all, our first point being how cooperation and teamwork are the key to prosperity. Now, motto. We tell you that by needs, we tell you that we prefer a world in which more connection, more alliance are built. We believe that that's, in fact, a world by nature much greater and better for humanity to live in. By entangling alliance, we mean that it can go up to government alliance and down to individuals' connections. We mean peace treaties, diplomatic agreement, trade agreement, aid. And in our world, we will support that all countries will have connection, all countries will make alliance with each other. Now, our first point, talking about why teamwork is so crucial. We have three folds of arguments. First point, we tell you that all men are by nature connected. We are brothers and sisters that share almost identical DNAs. Look around you, we see no stranger faces. But as society progresses, we start valuing profits more than anything else. We start pointing guns, pointing knives at our own brothers and sisters. Is that really a world that you want to live in? I want to see a world in which people are united, in which people will stand up against each other when problems show themselves. I want to see a world in which people came together as one, but not enemies in the war front. We tell you that as one race called human being, we all share the same profit. No one in this room, in this planet, will benefit if our world goes to doom. Second point, we tell that this promotes world peace. We are so grateful that we live in a stage of somewhat peaceful times. But there were times in history, even now, somewhere on this planet, our brothers and sisters are pointing their guns at each other. Our lives are taken away by our own hands. We tell that by creating alliance, we will somewhat solve the worrying issue that's going on. We will pointing less guns at each other, but instead all focusing on the problems at hand, like global warming, like world economic issues. We can alleviate poverty instead of actually trying to acquire more power, try to satisfy our own greed. We think that that is a world in which people can live happier, in which countries can be in peace. Third point, we tell you that this provides economic prosperity. We cannot flourish as one. One country cannot be prosper, cannot feed its people. People cannot be rich if no one is buying their product. By setting alliances, we create a world in which economic fluidity is present. We create a world in which trade no longer has barriers and which money can flow freely. That is a world in which everyone can have the opportunity and the chance to become prosper and help each other out from the poverty and help those who really need our aid. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not expect that everyone will hold each other's hands by the end of the day, but that is a beginning. And a world in which no enemy, a world in which there exists no such things as enemy, I believe that is a world that we can really call home. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, teams. You have 1 minute to prepare. All right, scholars, your minute is up. Please give it up for your first negative speaker.
Good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, we on side opposition are so proud to pose the model that the world does not need any more tangling alliances. We define the word alliances as a union or an association that is joined together and works together, not necessarily to our benefits. I will be talking about the economical and political aspect of how entangling alliances will not work towards our favor. Afterwards, my teammates will develop more on the conflict of interest that this causes towards us. I would first like to point out how this is not to our political advantage. As the first speaker of proposition mentioned, that if we work together and all become one united front, we will no longer point guns towards each other. But if that was so simple, why don't we have world peace anymore? Why are we still working together, trying to form alliances with the strongest countries we see around us to fight the others, to grow bigger? It is because we as humans, we have wants and we will never be satisfied with what we have. We always want to be the stronger side. For an example, the country Germany and Austria-Hungary worked as a dual alliance to attack Serbia, causing war. And this was violence that we could have avoided, as if one country was by itself, it wouldn't be as strong. But what if countries just start pairing up and going off to fight each other? Then they would have double the amount of resources to attack and create a bomb that can affect us even more than one country itself just attacking us. As for entangling alliances between us, we are also affected economically by these alliances. Many firms would like to work together to grow bigger, to dominate our market, and create a monopoly. But this is not to our consumers' wants. We will have to be forced to pay higher prices because they will form cartels against us and dominate our market, making us have less choices. Is that what we really want as consumers, to pay higher prices just to satisfy those people? And for these reasons, we on side opposition are so proud to propose this model. Thank you.
Thank you very much, teams. You have 1 minute. And your minute is up. Scholars, give it up for the next speaker.
Hi. To the first speaker of the negative side, I feel that you may have slightly misinterpreted the motion. So I'm just going to rebut a few points, and then I'm going to start with a few of my own. Firstly, your definition of an alliance is relevant to where you get it, and everyone knows that Wikipedia is not necessarily reliable, so just be careful with that. Also, you spoke about powerhouses and monopolies and et cetera, but there's a major difference between an alliance and a dictatorship. We do not want a dictatorship, we just want to form certain alliances. And you spoke about a bomb of sorts. Why would we be bombing each other if we had alliances? I mean, think about it. Now to start off with my first point of argument. So I know everyone here is diverse. We all have different cultures and religions, and it's beautiful. But I'm going to refer a bit to the Christian religion. If you look at Adam and Eve, God made Eve because he knew that Adam couldn't be by himself. And last night I met a guy and I asked him, what are you? And he said, I'm 10% British, but then I'm 15% Australian, and then my great-grandparents are French. It's very complicated, but you don't understand this. Look around you. Ask your parents about their grandparents. Ask your grandparents about their parents. We're all entangled. Everyone is connected somehow, and that's how the world works. We are all connected, and that's why we need to form certain alliances to connect with each other. If you look at my country as an example, there was something called apartheid, and that ended because of certain alliances. If we did not have those alliances, my people wouldn't be free. We wouldn't be liberated. We wouldn't have social and economic emancipation. We wouldn't know what it feels like to be equal. And that happened because of certain alliances. That's why we have the UN and the African Union, to form those alliances for the greater good. I mean, look at North Korea and look at South Korea. North Korea is the way that they are because they do not want to become one with South Korea. Look at Vietnam. They were split up into North and South, and then they came together as one. And I've been to Vietnam, and I can tell you now, it is one of the most beautiful and peaceful countries I have ever been to. Those people are connected, they're happy, they're loving, and that's what we should all be. I'm not saying we should all hold hands and sing Kumbaya by the fire. No, it's not about that. It's just about forming certain alliances for the greater good of the country, of the nation, of the people as a whole. And don't confuse it. Culture and religion doesn't separate us. If anything, it brings us closer together because we have a deeper understanding of certain human beings and how other people work and operate. So, to end off, I'd just like to say, without entanglement, we wouldn't exist. You wouldn't have the parents that you have, we wouldn't have the friends that we have, and none of us would be here in this room all together. We wouldn't have the beautiful cultural evening that we had last night if it weren't for certain alliances that were formed together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, teams. You have 1 minute. Scholars, your time is up. Please give a warm welcome to your second negative speaker.
Hello, my name is Colby Sanders. I'm going to be representing Texas in the United States of America, as well as the negative side for the motion resolved that the world needs more entangling alliances. So I first wanted to rebut a few of my opponent's points. And so their whole entire main argument is that when we work together, we work for the better of both people. That whenever we work together, we can work to free our nations, to free and bring our countries together. But I think he overlooks how we are built as people. The second speaker referenced the story of Adam and Eve, but she stopped halfway through that story. The second half of that story is Eve taking the apple. Eve did the selfish decision that would benefit herself and therefore banished herself from the garden. Their first speaker talks about how nature is connected, and by nature we are together, but by nature we have our own interest in mind. I come from the United States of America. Americans are very selfish people. You can take it from me. I actually wanted to cite a study from Scientific American. They once did a study where they asked themselves the harrowing question, are two heads better than one? And then they talk about a study by Bahadur Bahrami. I'm sorry, guys. And it's a Where's Waldo study. Where's Waldo is where you're searching for the guy in the red and white suit. And two people work together to find Waldo within a certain time period of 5 or 6 minutes. And that study failed because of how humans are inherently built. Essentially what happened is the students or the participants in the study would not tell their partner that they found Waldo simply so they could be the one that tells the researcher that they found him, all on their own. Are you trying to tell me that we work together better as one, but we work together better when we have our own interest in mind? It's ridiculous. I actually love the World Scholars Cup, and I think it's a great way for us to meet other people and to get involved. But not every country is here today, and that's because of how this world is. This world is a very scary place, and a lot of countries couldn't be here because of safety reasons and because they aren't allowed here. Some people aren't allowed into Dubai or to Israel or to Turkey. And to say that we are together here as one is extremely ignorant because we are not all one. We don't represent the world. We represent the world that is safe to represent the world. And to say that is ignorant. The second speaker also attacked our definition of the word alliance, but she equated the word multiculturalism as an alliance, and how her 50% Australian or whatever it is that she said made that an alliance. How is that an alliance? I would trust Wikipedia over that multiculturalism any day. The last thing I want to talk about is conflicts of interest. So yesterday in my first debate, I met a guy named Jason from Kenya. He's probably somewhere in here. And he told me about Jordan and Kenya's political alliance, that these two presidents, the president of Jordan and Kenya, went to school and went to college together, and they were roommates there in college. So that's a conflict of interest. I mean, are you going to tell me that Kenya really has its own best interest in mind if they're friends, not political friends, actual friends with the people from Jordan? That proves that these countries, they have their own agendas, right? And if you were friends with someone, if you saw your friend in need, it doesn't matter if you're struggling, right? You might help your friend. And so that proves that these countries, they can't work together. They really, truly can't work together if they have their own interest at mind or the interest of their friends. Jordan is not going to offer as much respect and help to Uganda as it is to Kenya simply because of that bond. So I just want to say we really do urge you guys to go negative on this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, teams. You have 1 minute to prepare. Your time is up. Give it up for your third affirmative speaker.
Hello,
everyone. I'm the third speaker from the proposition side, arguing for the motion that the world needs more entangling alliances. First of all, I would like to start off by refuting some of the points that my worthy opponents have put forth so far in this debate. Well, they started off by talking about how we can be strong without alliances. Well, you do realize that without any support, you cannot function. Why do you think Mongolia wants the third country policy? It is because it realized that it is important for it to form relationships with other countries so that it can benefit as well as develop. Furthermore, they talked about how in the end, Eve ate the apple. Well, if they had worked together, maybe it wouldn't have happened. In addition, they cited just one study, and because of that, they're basing their entire conclusion on it. What about the rest of the examples? Do you want to open up your mind a bit to address other types of relationships that we have, other types of alliances around the world? Furthermore, they have miscomprehended the meaning of an entangling alliance, because an entangling alliance isn't just a one-to-one relationship. It is when different countries come together. And that's how we see, from the very beginning of their speeches, they have miscomprehended this, and hence have been laying out arguments which are not only irrelevant, but also unnecessary. Now, I would like to call your attention to my points. Well, we can find the solution to the most difficult of problems that are going on in the world. We may take the example of the UN, which helped us in bringing the World War to an end. How do you think we would have been able to do that without this entangling alliance? It wouldn't have been possible. Furthermore, we may also stress on the fact that the African Union was formed in order for countries, the African countries, to become sovereign, to have this freedom and not be dominated by other countries. And that's how we realize, even in this case, it's for their benefits, which has been misunderstood by my opponents in all of their speeches that they've given so far. Moreover, we stressed on differences. Because how do you think the Vietnamese war came to an end? It was because of the Paris Peace Accords, another alliance, entangled alliance. By this, we strongly believe that this motion must and will stand, not only because we have been able to prove to you why it should, but also because of the equivocation of the assertions put forth by my opponents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, teams. You have 1 minute. And that is time. Scholars, give it up for your third negative speaker.
Dear audience, the affirmative team gave us all the benefits in alliances. The only thing they lacked is an explanation of how exactly these alliances are going to lead to these benefits. Today, I'm going to be dividing this debate into 2 points of discussion, which are an economical aspect and a political and strategical aspect, and explaining why we have won this debate and our points stand with our definition of alliance and with their definition of alliance. Let me start talking about the political and strategical aspect. Affirmative team has told us that in a world with more alliances, we will have peace. We will have less people pointing guns at each other. We will have people working together. But what affirmative team is missing is a little thing called conflict of interest. Since the beginning of time, people had different interests. They had conflicts, and that's because they needed different things. If we have more alliances, we're not going to have all of our interests mending together. The only thing that we're going to have is more power on each side, more opposing powers, more wars, more military conflicts, more of all of the things that we are trying to prevent today. Okay. Let's look at how the First World War started. Serbia was in conflict with Austria-Hungary, right? But the one that pushed Austria-Hungary to attack Serbia was their own ally, Germany, the one that had the interest of starting a war against Serbia and getting all their land to themselves. And then the entire world got into war. Let's look into the economical aspect. Once we have these entangling alliances in the economy, we have more bigger companies, stronger companies working together. And again, with opposing interests. what we are going to get is only monopolies and cartels. These monopolies and cartels are so strong that they are going to control the market, and they are to think about themselves and fix prices, raise prices for us citizens. How do you think this is beneficial for us? Yes, we can use cooperation, but we don't need more entangling alliances, because that is just going to lead to monopolies. In conclusion, in a world with more entangling alliances, we are still going to keep our opposing positions, but only going to have more power on each side, meaning more conflicts, more fixing of prices, and less benefit for us citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, teams. 1 minute. Scholars, give a warm welcome to the final speaker from the affirmative team.
Hello, I'm Hugo Kaptein from the International School of Hilversum, and I'm the fourth speaker for the affirmative team on the statement that the world needs more entangling alliances, and this is, in our opinion, irrevocably true. I'm going to start by rebutting some arguments made by the other team. Your third speaker stated that alliances would bring prices up, ruin the economy, make it bad for consumers, but none of these things are true. Think about the North American Free Trade Alliance and how Donald Trump has threatened to get out of this, how Donald Trump has threatened trade all over the world by shutting America off from the rest of the world. This has increased prices for many goods in America and has threatened the steel industry incredibly. It is moronic to say that this alliance was bad for consumers. Think about Beijing and America. Before America made a trade agreement with Beijing, prices for Chinese goods and services were extreme. And prices have gone down so much now that everything is much more accessible for every single individual who lives on this planet. They also speak, your third speaker also stated that the World War I was caused by alliances. But this is only one example, and this was a different time. A time of, in fact, separation, not a time of alliances. These alliances just happened to spring up out of the separation of our people. And these alliances haven't happened since then. There has not been a major conflict that was started by an alliance since then. And we feel that this represents a change in our people. It represents a change in the goodwill of our people. In addition to this, the euro can be seen as a monopoly, a currency that every country in the European Union, bar a few, uses. And this euro hasn't threatened consumers. This euro has helped us. It has helped unify the world. Speaking more about the European Union, I was born in the Netherlands, which is a European Union country. And Spain is also a European Union country. What does this mean? They're in alliance. They're in an entangling alliance with the rest of EU countries. And what else does this mean? It means that I can use my mobile data wherever I go in the European Union. And that was formed by an alliance. I was able to do my research today because of this alliance, because of the unification. I want to end with this. We are entangled in every aspect of our lives. Our family, our friendships, our school, our work environment. Every aspect of our lives is entangled. Entanglement has never made the world worse in any single way. Every war, World War I, II, the Vietnam Wars, the Korean War, any other war you can ever mention in history was started by separation and ended by unity, not by separation again. I want to leave you with this quote. So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Teams, your final minute. All right, scholars, give it up for your final speaker.
Ladies and gentlemen, well, mostly the ladies, let me start off by saying I am single. Now, apart from advertising this beautiful product, I do have a purpose to what I am saying. My girlfriend had to be dumped. Do you know why? I go home one night, right? And I see her in bed with John. Oh, wow. And the last week, Adam. And then Steve, and then Trevor and Tyrell. Oh, my God. Entangling alliance. Look at this. I couldn't even move. Are those the kinds of relationships you want? Oh my God. Now. Today I'm here to negate the motion that states the world needs more entangling alliances. Let's look at the word entangling. It means tied up and stuck together. Ladies, you can tell me about your hair. When it gets entangled, is it a good thing? Thank you. Look at the Gordian knot story Alexander the Great brought us. What did he do when he saw an entangled knot? He cut through it. So in the same way he cut through it, I will cut through their argument today. All my opponents have been talking about are ideals. The world is not built up on ideals. It's not the best, peaceful, most amazing place that you've ever seen. That's not how it works. The world you envision is a fantasy. But let me pop your bubble and bring you back to reality. This is not Disney World, where everyone holds their hands at the end of the movie and everything is hunky-dory. No, it is not. You talked about alliances promoting world peace. Can we go to Syria or Israel or Palestine? I don't see any world peace over there. And do you know why? The Veto Council in the United Nations. China and Russia joined together to veto any resolution to help them. The United Nations has failed in its mandate to stop world peace. Then, you talked about peace treaties. Peace treaties, yes? And you talked about the Paris Peace Accords. Can we please go to the Treaty of Versailles, where the Allied powers imposed the harsh treaty upon Germany that led to the start of World War II. More on that. Let's look at, you said a country cannot be prosperous alone. Kenyans, Wakanda forever. Then you said our argument was flawed because we only said an alliance is between two parties. Let me take you to World War I. Britain, France, and Russia. I count 3. Italy, Austria-Hungary, and Germany. I count 3. What happened between those two alliances? They got into a fight, a war. Your entire argument is based on trying to correct something that was never wrong in the first place. Then you talked about cultures coming together. Please take a trip to Pakistan and you can see the fights that are going on between the Shia and Sunni Muslims. The Sunnis are supported by the government. That is an alliance, my worthy opponents. One of you also said, without support you cannot function. Can you please speak for yourself? I am standing here alone and I am functioning perfectly. I do not need entangling alliances. Let's look at the build-up to World War II. Abyssinia, the League of Nations, a failed version of the United Nations. What did they do? They tried to stop Italy from taking Abyssinia. What happened? Britain and France formed an alliance with Mussolini and tried to snake them like Paramveer Sandhu from Mombasa. And what happened? Italy, when they took action against Italy, it became closer to Germany. What happened after that? Germany, Italy, Russia, World War II, 3, an alliance, a war. I think you see a pattern forming over here. Let's look at World War II itself. The Nazi-Soviet Pact, an alliance. Hitler teamed up with Stalin. They got together and they started war in the entirety of Europe. What was that a result of? An entangling alliance.
All right, thank you, scholars. Please give it up for your final speaker. And scholars, please give it up one more time for all your speakers today. And now it is time for your panel of judges to rise and follow Dylan to the secret chamber known as Behind the Door to discuss the results of today's debate. And although the debate on stage is over, the discussion is only beginning. We are now opening up the floor to you, scholars, to discuss and share your ideas about today's debate. Remember that this is now your chance to imagine yourself as one of the speakers up here, to share your ideas about our motion today. This is not a time for you to be giving feedback to the speakers, but instead to contribute your ideas on the motion, on whether or not the world needs more entangling alliances. Eric and Amy are at the bottom. Please queue at these mic stands if you would like to share your thoughts. Amy, who is our first community contributor today, please introduce yourself and your school.
I am Remtula Omar from Kenya Light International School. I would like to support the negative side by saying that during one of the worst, 2 million people had died in Africa in 1994, the UN did not do anything. It waited 2 months, then came after 2 months. That is failure of alliances. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And we move to Eric's side, who is our next community contributor.
Hi, I'm Ellie. I'm from University of Toronto Schools in Canada. And I thought there was a really interesting point that just got brought up really briefly, which is that alliances don't solve disagreements. There was this idea that even if we have alliances, we don't get rid of the underlying reasons why we might not want them, why we might instead want to break into different factions and fight each other, which I think is a really crucial point when we're talking about diplomacy and how we want to make a better world, which is that writing on paper or political alliances don't really necessarily get to the root of the reason why we think we need an alliance in the first place.
All right, thank you very much. And back to the other side.
Okay, it works. Hello, I'm representing Tanzania from Aga Khan Mzizima. My name's Sarah. I'd like to support the negative side. First off, the multiculturalism kind of dies off if you keep entangling everything. The whole world, if it's too entangled, multiculturalism is killed off very easily. And let me think of my point again. You can come back again. I can come back.
All right, thank you very much. And back to the other side.
Hi, my name is Pelesa Sadike, and I'm from South Africa. And I've got 2 points for both sides to keep it fair. Now, negative side, you said that Eve ate the apple to feed her selfish desires, right? But is it selfish when you take another apple and give it to your spouse or something? And I got one for to the good side, whatever. Okay, yeah, you guys said that. Oh yeah, alliances are good, but you can't really trust the people you're with. I mean, like you said with God and Adam and Eve, God treated Adam and Eve right, but in the end, they still betrayed him, so yeah. And something for the fourth speaker of the negative side, you said that you were supporting alone, but boy, you got 3 people behind you supporting you with all your points. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ahmed. I'm from Egypt, and I honestly don't think that alliances are the reasons war begin, but rather what countries are in those alliances. When it comes to alliances with countries that are tighter together, have similar cultures, come from similar backgrounds, the alliance will function better overall. It's just simple animal behavior that things that are similar work better together against ones that are different. Though it sounds backwards, it's just how things are. There are too many differences, And the best thing to do is not to acknowledge them and try to spread them, but instead try to focus on what's important and create an alliance for peace, not to show that you're powerful against another country, but just to ensure that your relationship with this country doesn't elevate into war.
All right, thank you very much. And back to Eric's side.
Hi, my name is Barak. I am from Calgary, Canada, and I just wanted to say on the topic of sort of military alliances, it was said that the United Nations helped stop World War II, which was not true. It was created after World War II because the League of Nations failed to stop World War II. Furthermore, on the idea of these wars end with unity, they mentioned the wars in Korea, but that ended with North and South Korea, who are still divided to this day. So I think overall, because of that, I'd have to support side negative. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And now to the left.
Hello, my name is Ophir Devere, and I'm representing the United States of America. First, I would like to say one thing for all the groups. I liked how you defined alliances, but then the word entangling seemed to have dropped out of that. So if you would have defined entangling, I think it would have been so much clearer exactly what type of alliances we're talking about. And then one other thing for the negative team, I don't think it was very clearly brought up, but I would have loved it if you brought in the Cold War with NATO and the Warsaw Pact, because the last speaker of the affirmative team did talk about the fact that after World War I, there was not any more wars due to alliances. So I think that would have been a good point. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And back to Eric's side.
Hi, I'm from Andrea. My name is Andrea, and I'm from Texas. No, I'm not. I'm from Canada, and I think I have a point for maybe both sides. So for the negative side, you could say that many alliances in the past have been flawed and have done nothing valuable. For example, the alliances that were formed in wars just to fight other alliances. And also, alliances can be broken. For example, Hitler and Stalin had an alliance, and then they eventually turned on each other. And also, America and the Soviet Union were allied in World War II, and after they broke that alliance and they had the Cold War and the threat of nuclear attacks like we do right now, thanks Donald Trump. But I think overall, if we have meaningful alliances, like the UN and the EU, they're definitely not perfect. They haven't solved all of our problems. Like, the UN can't stop every war, and the EU won't make every Eurozone country richer. But if we have those and we're making a meaningful effort, then that's a good start to world peace and prosperity. Thank you. Wakanda forever.
Thank you very much. And now another speaker from Amy's side.
Hi, my name is Lionel Okoye, and I am representing Zimbabwe. I'd like to first start off by saying that the only reason why the UN and multiple other organizations were created was because alliances before the war and also the League of Nations failed to maintain peace, hence leaving people with these questions in mind. This is a question directed to the non-affirmative delegation. Wouldn't you all agree that conflict resolution is a product of diplomatic relations in the sense that all nations agree on terms that are equally beneficial to each other? And then to the second speaker specifically, you stated that some countries are not represented here at WSC due to citizen restrictions based on a person's origins. What is your resolution to create global or rather international acceptance, if not the creation of more diplomatic alliances such as the EU, AU, and the UN, to name a few, which have significant intention to eradicate barriers?
All right, thank you very much. Our next speaker.
Hello, I'm Himish from Zambia, and I would be on the positive side, and all I'd like to do is rebut points. That's what I do best. I would be rebutting points for the last speaker. You say that the three countries alliance are forming wars, and they go against them. But then I believe if all countries were in an alliance, there wouldn't be war. I mean, who would you fight a war with? Mars? So, yes.
All right, thank you very much. And our next speaker?
Hi, I'm Kushak Tagore. I'm from Mayo College Girls School. I represent India. I think what we failed to bring up in this entire debate was how alliances can hinder the growth of other countries. Like, for example, being an Indian, I would like to state how the alliance between Pakistan and maybe China is hindering the growth of India by not letting it become a veto nation in the United Nations Security Council. And keeping that in mind, alliances therefore have a very negative impact, yet cite opposition to point out a very simple thing. They failed in their entire argument. They only brought up the negative aspects of alliances. They only saw it in a very pessimistic approach, and therefore they failed to acknowledge the existence of, let's say, the European Union or the Association of Southeastern Asian nations, which actually benefit the said countries instead of hinder them. And therefore, in this entire debate, side proposition failed to define the very motion because they did not manage to set a particular boundary for the motion, and therefore we did not know whether it was at more regional levels or at a global level. Therefore, this debate did not reach any conclusion, and it was just in a loop.
All right, thank you very much. And another speaker from this side?
Hello, my name is William. I'm from the International School of Hilversum. I'd like to support the affirmative side on this debate. I've got 2 points. First off, I'd like to talk about the dissolution of ancient China and the formation of modern China. Now, ancient China and the dissolution of happened because they were unable to form alliances with neighboring countries, which meant the major powers at the time came in and took over that country, and it led to one of the most deadly civil wars that we've ever seen in the world. So alliances, if they were able to be formed there, probably could have helped solve that issue. My second point is Brexit specifically and the EU. Now the EU was formed sort of as a result of the Second World War and et cetera, and after that, the European economy was at a very low state. Now, after a lot of work, the EU was formed, and now it's one of the most valuable economies in the world, and that only happened because of alliances. Now, Britain has now chosen to leave that alliance, and you saw that instantly the value of the pound dropped. So not only is it socially important in China, where death and major destruction happened because of the lack of alliances, but it happens economically and politically as well with Brexit in the modern world. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And one more speaker from Amy's side.
Hello. Hello. My name is Eleana, and I represent Εκπαιδευτική Αναγέννηση from Greece. What I wanted to say is that the motion is about having more entangling alliances, but nobody in the debate told us how more entangling alliances would benefit the world. So I just wanted to say, are the entangling alliances we have enough already? And do we need more? That's all.
All right, thank you very much. I do believe our panel of judges is back, but scholars, can you please give a huge round of applause for all our community contributors today?
It's not an issue.
And it is now time for our panel of judges to rise again from their seats and join us on stage to announce the verdict of today's debate showcase. Scholars, please give it up for your panel of judges.
Sure, fine. I'll just time myself for 30 seconds. Yeah, so first of all, we'd like to say that the speakers on both sides were fantastic, like absolutely amazing. And the rhetoric here was out of this world. You guys had some really connecting points, like when you mentioned the Kenya point, when you mentioned the point about your friends and scholars, that's really interesting, and we can actually connect to it. But what we think that you guys could have really improved on your debates with is by connecting it more to the motion, because you guys had some really good points, but then you didn't give the impact as to why we should connect it to more entangling alliances.
Hi. Yes, all in all, it was a really enjoyable debate, to say the least. But in terms of like positive feedback, I think both sides were relatively well structured. It was easy to follow along as per to what their points were, which helped us and I think helped you as well. In terms of feedback, I think at certain times there were a little bit of contradictions, but obviously that's something that can just be cleaned up at the end. But in the end of the day, it was a really good debate.
Okay. All in all, both sides of the debate were really good, as well as structure, as my other teammate has mentioned, but also in the evidence that they could have used to support each side. Although that they could go in deeper, they did try and use as much evidence that can prove both sides, and that's really good in a debate speech. So, bravo to you guys.
Hi. Okay, so I'm here to give a bit of feedback to both sides. This is my first senior round, and it's really nerve-wracking, but I feel like you guys did a wonderful job of handling this debate and its motion. I also have to commend all 8 speakers for using such emotion. Their good use of emotion throughout their speech to power their points and their evidence. So, good job, everyone.
So it's the final decision now. Both teams were stupendous. Both of them did an excellent job. And it was a tough decision for the panel to decide the winner. And the winner of the Senior Division Debate Showcase is... Negative! And well done to the affirmative team as well. Thank you.
All right, scholars, that is the end of our debate showcase. Please give it up one more time. And teams, as per World Scholars Cup tradition, please cross the bench and congratulate one another.
That was excellent.
Scholars, one more time, make some noise for all the debate showcase participants on the stage. All right, and scholars, now that we are done with the debate showcase, we have some news for you guys. You are all now officially done with all the academic events in the World Scholars Cup at this global round. We have one more thing for you guys today. That is the first of 2 talent shows for the global round for the senior division. We need a little bit of time to get the stage ready, and we also need all performers to come check in with Dylan up at the podium once more. So if you are performing in the talent show, please come and check in once more. Everybody else, we will be starting in about 10 to 15 minutes as soon as the stage is ready and all the performers are ready. It's going to be a great talent show.